2004, the country has also been wrapped up when it comes to issues of drought, dry spell. But this time around, we've been told that this drought or dry spell that is being experienced is due to the fact that it has been induced by an El Nino that is being experienced. And we've seen a lot of calls coming through from the farmers that have been affected, as well as stakeholders just calling for practical measures or solutions that need to be addressed in ensuring that the agricultural sector gets to survive even within this challenge. This is the conversation that we get to delve or dive into this morning on Monday, the 26th of February 2024. And thank you so much for joining us on the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Nelson Zulu, and indeed I get to also breast the screen on a new week with you. And I'm always joined by my colleague, although from the eastern part of the country, but it is what it is. The Vubu man.
Yeah.
Vubu man. That's your new name.
If you wish to, I can have it.
You can have it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's trying to hide. His name is Vincent, and I'm sure also that you had a funny-packed, exciting week altogether. For we also did see, like from us, the soccer fans, we did see like from the local front, Zesco up against Aba Yellow, that is Power Dynamos. Yeah. Yes, and in the Premier League, we also saw action coming up. And what was also exciting was the fact that an academy, Liverpool, beat up Chelsea. I know my technician upstairs is not going to accept that sentiment, but let's get to kickstart a Monday with you with the first segment this morning, which is the Health Corner.
Good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya. So today we look at yet another interesting mental health disorder. Last week we were talking about depression, and we talked about what depression is and how it comes about and some of the causes, the symptoms, the treatment options that are there, and also how you can prevent yourself from getting depression. So this week we will talk about another mental health disorder or mental disorder that we call anxiety disorder. Now, anxiety disorder is a very common disorder. It's a very common psychiatric disorder that many people have, and it's one of the common disorders actually. Mostly people who have depression are considered to have depression is considered to be the most common single disorder or single condition, mental health condition, but anxiety disorder is considered to be the common group of disorders, because there are a variety of anxiety disorders. So anxiety disorder usually is described as a condition where you have an exaggerated fear or anxiety or worry over certain conditions or certain things, and usually this fear tends to affect the way the person behaves. So there is an exaggerated fear, anxiety, worry, and this leads to an abnormal behavior in the person. And people with anxiety disorder can have both physical symptoms and even psychological symptoms. So they might have physical symptoms of having abdominal pain, chest pain, headache, and they might also have other symptoms of mental symptoms of being restless and just having anxious thoughts. So this week we'll delve more into what really causes anxiety disorder, and we'll also talk about some of the signs and symptoms of anxiety disorder. Now, there are also different types of anxiety disorders, so we'll talk about the different types of anxiety disorders that are there, so that you can just understand what people mean, or what we mean when we talk about anxiety disorder. Then we'll also discuss the treatment options. How can you treat anxiety disorder? Is it treatable? And what is the best treatment for anxiety disorder? So today we're talking about the what anxiety disorder is, and we are saying that anxiety disorder is an exaggerated fear or anxiety or worry towards a certain situation or an object, and usually leads to having certain behaviors that are not normal, so abnormal, leads to abnormal behavior. Now, anxiety disorder can affect both men and women, and there's a very small difference in the proportion of men that are affected to the proportion of women. So of course more women are affected than men, but even men are still affected. So the proportion is about 3-to-1. So for every three women that have anxiety disorder, 2 men also have anxiety disorder. So it's not only a condition that affects men or affects women, it affects both genders. And anxiety disorder can start even at a very young age. So it can be a child or a teenager who is having a certain fear of something or situations. So it can start at a very young age, and it can grow, and if it's not addressed, it can even lead to being a dysfunctional adult, having a dysfunctional adult who can't really function well in certain situations, because that anxiety was not addressed in the early stages. Then it can still develop even in adulthood, so even adults can still have anxiety, and even older people who are above 50 years old or older can still develop anxiety. So it has got no age limit. Anyone can develop anxiety, and so we need to be able to recognize certain fears that people would have. So if you notice your child is having a certain fear towards something or towards an object, it will be best to be able to address that fear, because it might lead to other problems as well, other mental health conditions or mental health disorders. So it's important that these issues are addressed, so that your child or does not become a dysfunctional adult. So today we were talking about anxiety disorder, just to introduce what anxiety disorder is. And we are saying that anxiety disorder is an exaggerated response or a fear that somebody would have towards a situation or an object that would lead them to have abnormal behaviors. So tomorrow we'll talk about the types of anxiety disorders. There are quite a number of disorders that are grouped in the anxiety disorder bracket. So tomorrow we'll look at that, and make sure you invite your friends to watch as well. And if you missed any other episodes here on The Breakfast Show, you can always watch my YouTube channel at Dr. Nakubyanamfire, and you'd find all these interesting videos that are here on the Camnet TV. Invite your friends, and don't forget to watch again tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care and stay healthy, stay blessed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nakubyanamfire, right there, just taking us through in terms of what is anxiety disorder. You might find yourself in a situation where you've got anxiety, but you don't know that it is a disorder, and it is all kudos to such healthy tips that are given to us, that we get to make informed decision whenever we find ourselves in such a situation. And it's so heartwarming, the fact that Dr. Nakubiyana Mufaya has been very consistent when it comes to issues relating to the health tips.
And for this topic, I think very few know that anxiety is actually a disorder. And I think I know a few people who they need checkup.
Like who? Like who?
No, I won't mention names.
Okay.
But I think I know them.
Yeah, I think that there's also a feeling whereby you feel matenda inangoja benyantu bodemina. But anyway, it happens to everyone without you realizing that it is happening to you.
And again, the culture of wanting to go to a health facility when you are not feeling well, I think that's what's killing us mostly, especially us Africans, because we understand that our life expectancy is a bit lower than it is for our friends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And when you talk about that, I just always remember myself anyway. I wouldn't even want to speak on behalf of someone. I know exactly what happens to me, so I'll just put it at that level playing field. Anyway, we're coming live to you via DSTV, that is channel 274, Go TV channel 25, Topstar channel 106, Facebook, as well as YouTube. Give us that contribution of yours that you have, as well as any other things that might be happening in your area. We wish to know at what pace we are actually going, even as we get to also interact on the other side on our topic of discussion this morning. We are also privileged to also get that insight of yours in terms of your perspective of how certain issues that need to be handled. And this time around, just like I did mention, that we are going to focus much on the dry spell that the country has been hit with, what exact measures should be put in place in terms of ensuring that we cushion such effects of climate change as a people. Right, let's get to the other segment, rather, the second segment, which is the money market, as we get to look at how the kwacha is performing against major convertibles. The United States dollar, there you have it, is buying at 22 kwacha, 0.8 in one Ngwe, and selling at 23.26 in Ngwe. The euro is buying at 24 kwacha, 0.70 Ngwe, and selling at 25 kwacha, 0.19 Ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha, 0.18 Ngwe, and selling at 1 kwacha, 0.20 Ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 28 kwacha, 0.94 Ngwe, and selling at 29 kwacha, 0.51 Ngwe. Vincent, your comment?
Yeah, and as usual, our interest is on the US dollar. Yeah, we are able to see there that it keeps on fluctuating. It's not yet stable, but at least it has appreciated a bit. Yeah, from the 27 kwacha that it was, that is a week or two ago. Yeah, it has appreciated, and hopefully it keeps on appreciating, and at a later stage maybe stabilize.
Anyway,
yeah,
we keep our hopes very high to look for a possible stability in the kwacha, because now the concern is going to be probably, we've seen that yes, the kwacha is appreciating, but does this also trickle down to that local business person, that entrepreneur, that family that don't even get to really understand about what is happening to the dollar or the kwacha? All they know is dollar yakwela or dollar yabe.
And the unfortunate part now is that even if the kwacha appreciates, it will take about 2-3 months for prices to be affected. Yeah.
Anyway, stop sounding like an economist. Anyway.
No, but why are you jealous?
No, I'm not.
I'm trying to be one here.
I'm not being jealous, but I'm just trying to be.
You don't want me to be an economist. I'll be your source.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is Vincent for you. He's got an interest in the economy, financial issues, on all these. But yeah, it is what it is. If you want to be an economist, we shall join you later, but we shall follow other paths.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the time where you too can also be part of the show by simply calling in the numbers on your screen, as well as ensuring that you leave us with a text message or a message via Facebook, and we'll be glad to hear from you in terms of what you think as the discussion gets to unfold. And we jump into the zooming headline segment this morning, where we get to look at a story where Zambia Council for Social Development, ZCSD, has called on government to conduct massive sensitization on the digital National Registration Card NRC. Organization Executive Director Leah Mitala notes that most communities do not have the information on the implemented transition from physical to digital NRCs. Ms. Mitala adds that it is prudent for government to quickly implement the issuance of the digitalized NRCs, as it will help in curbing fraudulent activities that come with the paper-based national documents. Let's get to look at that story and we'll be back on the other side.
As of December 2023, more than 1 million Zambians had enrolled to obtain digital national registration cards under the Integrated National Registration Information System project that will see the introduction of the Digital National Registration Card, NRC. The project has an enrollment target of 10 million over the next decade, but Zambia Council for Social Development ZCSD Executive Director Leah Mitala has bemoaned the lack of information around this development among the general citizenry.
We feel that there hasn't been adequate sensitization. Some people, only a few sections of people are aware that we're actually supposed to change, and that the government has started the process of collecting information and transitioning towards the biometric NRCs. So it's important that the government must invest in sensitization, especially for people that are from rural areas. They need to know that we're migrating towards a digital platform, and that everybody must ensure that they follow through that process.
Ms. Mitala understands that smooth implementation of this development will be critical in curbing fraudulent activities that come with paper-based national documents.
It's also good in this digitalized time that we live in, where we see almost everything being carried out on the digital platforms. But then also that has also brought a negative aspect to it, because we also see increased fraud where people can use somebody's physical NRC and access certain services that ordinarily they shouldn't. So with a digital NRC, it makes it difficult, because then there's biometrics that is required, and we know that each one has a unique biometric makeup.
Recently, government, through the Department of National Registration, Passport and Citizenship, launched the Integrated National Registration Information System in Zambia. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
That is a story right there on the digital NRCs that are being issued countrywide, I think. Vincent, you can have more information on what is currently pertaining relating to the issue of issuance of NRCs.
Yeah, so there is this exercise that's going on, the issuance of NRCs countrywide, but the digital ones, it should be by December last year. Yeah, it was in Luapula, Copper Belt, in those regions. There are 3 or 4 provinces that are currently receiving these services.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Lusaka is not inclusive. Any other provinces are not. Is it conducted in a phased manner?
It's a phased, yes. It's a phased program, yeah.
But let's also get to look at some stories that you have on the end there. Okay,
so here we have a story coming from the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, who are saying that it is implementing a multi-sectorial approach with government ministries and other stakeholders in the last 2 months in the quest to eradicate cholera. In an interview, DMMU National Coordinator Dr. Gabriel Pollen says various measures such as the water sanitation and hygiene wash that has resulted in 240,000 100-liter water tanks being installed in cholera hotspot areas. Dr. Pollen adds that through the Ministry of Transport and Logistics, it has mobilized more than 100 vehicles to help with relief operations around the pandemic.
Since October 2023, 686 people have died from cholera in Zambia. The disease that broke out in Lusaka took a toll on the livelihood of Zambians, as 19,930 cases have been recorded since last year. The Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit says since the numbers started soaring high, they have put across various strategies to mitigate the further spread of the disease.
Cholera, and this has involved a number of key pillars that the government has relied upon based on a comprehensive, robust and holistic intervention that deals with a range of underlying factors that fuel the current cholera outbreak. So the first instance, there's a dealing around case management, with the government focused on clinical care, provision of medical products in order to address the cholera ailments.
DMMU National Coordinator Dr. Gabriel Pauline says measures such as the WASH program were put in place and enabled the installation of 240 10-liter water tanks that continue to supply clean water in cholera-prone areas.
Second pillar involves itself with WASH, which essentially is water, sanitation and hygiene, and here the government has installed at least 240 10,000-liter tanks across cholera hotspot areas. In essence, the government is delivering at least 2.4 million liters of water on a daily basis in order to provide clean drinking fresh water to the afflicted areas.
Dr. Pauline also adds that the unit, in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government, have since buried shallow wells and emptied pit latrines. He says over 100 vehicles were mobilized and help in the various cholera response operations.
The government has mobilized about 100 vehicles through the Ministry of Transport and Logistics just to be the fuel for the relief operations in case management, in WASH, in solid waste management, and all the entire aspects of relief provision insofar as cholera is concerned. In addition to the transport and logistics component, the government is also involved in risk communication and community engagement, and what this involves is basically engaging communities on aspects of cleanliness, on messages of hygiene.
He further says government will continue being proactive to ensure that zero cholera cases are recorded. Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Zambia faced a tough challenge with COVID-19 starting on 18th March 2020. Over 349,000 people caught the virus and around 4,000 died. The country fought hard, with over 341,000 getting health again, all thanks to different measures which were put on the table while the country's economy was left crawling to life. Fast forward, the annual ceremony of the country hit in October 2023, cholera, leaving about 686 people dead, with a total number of cases as of Saturday 23rd February 2024 standing at 19,930, with 19,136 having recovered from the disease. This saw the National Hero Stadium being turned into a cholera treatment center with various underlying issues. One is left to ask if Zambia is ready for any emerging disease. A public health expert, Dr. Canisius Banda, observed that the country is not ready for emerging diseases, hence calling for the strengthening of the country's public health.
Zambia isn't ready, and not SADC, we are not ready. We need to strengthen our public health security, our capacity for surveillance, and our self-reliance. Self-reliance is key. When you rely on a foreigner for food, for medicines, for vaccines and all that, it just means that you're not keeping yourself alive. You are vulnerable. You can be killed at any time because you are not in control. So we need to build capacity at the human resource level, at the income level, at the lab level, surveillance level, many levels to ensure public health.
Dr. Banda, who is also Opposition Patriotic Front chairperson for health, calls for the need to invest in the public health sector and proposes the need to investigate the outbreak of cholera in the country.
let's thoroughly investigate the origins of this cholera outbreak. Is it a marketing ploy? Is it somebody who has brought it about to create demand for vaccines? Is it deliberately cause an outbreak when you have vaccines ready for sale? So let's be alert. Let's open our eyes and understand what really is happening. So Zambia isn't ready. So we need to be united as a people to secure our country, our lives. The responsibility is ours.
Now Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka. Thank you for those stories that have been played out to you. We had one other story that had focused on the general response that is being given from the DMMU,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we also had Dr. Canisius Banda, who is a public health expert, indicating that we don't see the country being ready in case of any emerging disease that may come through.
And I think I've said this time and again, we are more reactive. And we wait for a problem to occur. That's when we start to react to these issues. I think, in my thinking, I think we can prevent cholera by start implementing some of these measures that we actually undertake when there's an outbreak. We do them before. Yeah, let's say somewhere in October we start cleaning up the city, so that by the time we receive the rains, at least the city is somehow clean. Yeah, we provide water, clean water. Why should it be that when there's an outbreak, that's when you start providing water to people? No.
Yeah. I do remember somebody was asking me questions to say, we do as a country have a lot of health facilities within, but here's a time when we saw cases of cholera skyrocketing.
Yeah.
We had to shift from having these health facilities functional into utilizing a stadium.
Yeah.
Are we really a serious country? But I said those are just some of the intervention measures.
Yeah, those are some
that came at the time, because trust me, you can't just leave people dying and have an excuse that look, we don't have a lot of health facilities.
No. I think for that one, mostly what happens is you look at what will help. Yeah, we saw in a day we are having more than 400 cases.
Yes.
And which hospital could have accommodated
that number?
That would have meant distributing those cases into other hospitals, of which we are distributing cases as well.
You see?
Yeah.
So I think for me it was kudos to
yeah, for that one. And I think the minister did really well, because she almost shifted her office from Deke House to Hero Stadium. Yeah.
Yes, and we've seen that continued updates have continued being given to us in terms of the cholera situation. But now the core has been that we don't need to be complacent as a people, because we've seen that at least in a day we're having fewer cases that are being recorded. At least we're seeing that the number of those that are being discharged continues to increase.
Yeah,
I think it is also important that we get to look at all those issues. But hey, in case you're joining us, this is the Camnet TV breakfast show on a Monday, and we're coming live to you in our Lusaka studios, and you can catch us via DSTV channel 274, Go TV channel 25, Top Star channel 106, not forgetting Facebook as well as YouTube. And you can give us your comment on Facebook concerning the stories that we've played unto you, even as we get to look at the topic in terms of what measures should be put in place, especially from us as citizens, to actually cushion the effects of climate change, such as the drought that is being experienced, or the dry spell, or rather if we put it that way. And we'll be glad to hear from you in terms of what measures you think can definitely work for the good of this country, and moving forward, having our agriculture sector get to improve from another level. I know there's a story also, we did talk about the appreciation of the kwacha when we're looking at the money market segment.
Yeah.
But let's get to look at a story that was found in by, I think, one of our reporters when it comes to the issues of the cost of living.
Okay, so here the opposition Citizens First Party Deputy General Secretary for Politics and Operations, Kefas Mukuka, is advising government to find an alternative to ease the economic hardships that are currently affecting Zambians. Dr. Mukuka says the prices of minimum and fuel are beyond the reach of many ordinary Zambians. Earlier this month, the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection JCTR Food Basket Survey reported an increase in the cost of living for January 2024 compared to December last year. The cost of living in recent months has gone up as a result of the instability in the forex market and high prices of fuel. This has triggered high prices of basic commodities such as meal, vegetables, among others. According to the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR, the Food Basket Survey reported an increase in the cost of living for January 2024 compared to December 2023, with a family of 5 needing at least 9,555 kwacha, 53 ngwe to purchase the basic needs, and nutrition basket representing a 398 kwacha 12 ngwe increase. Political researcher and opposition Citizens First Deputy General Secretary for Politics and Operations, Kefas Mukuka, has advised government to find an alternative to ease some of these economic hardships on the Zambian people.
It is unbearable really, because how many people are getting a 9,000 kwacha? That should be the question. Now, if experts from the Jesuit Center are saying that a family of 5 or 6, for them to survive, they need 9,000 kwacha on the table. 9,000 kwacha is a lot of money. So the question again is, how many people are getting such kind of money? So the cost of living in Zambia is unbearable. This is the more reason government should always find a plan B, so that they ease the economic harshness which has come to hit the people.
Dr. Mukuka further says most families in Zambia do not have the capacity to afford the basic food basket as indicated by the JCTR.
On top of the fuel pump price here, 35 kwacha per liter is just too much. We can talk of the bag of meal, 340, 380 to some extent. It's just too much money. Families who are 6, how many bags do they need? I think this is the more reason why people should have trust and faith in the United Kwacha Alliance, which has come on the political scene, because we have answers.
Currently, a 25 kg bag of mini meal is fetching between 300 kwacha and 400 kwacha, while an additional 1 kwacha has been added to the price of a small bundle of vegetables. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
In the recent months, the accelerating cost of living has put immense pressure on small local businesses across the country. As the country grapples with a high cost of living and currency instability, entrepreneurs are finding it increasingly difficult to maintain operations. Amidst rising expenses from raw materials to daily operational costs, combining these issues in the ongoing struggle for currency stability, the nation's currency has been experiencing fluctuations, adding an extra layer of uncertainties for businesses that rely on stable exchange rate for their business transactions. Local business owners are voicing their concerns about the impact of these economic challenges. Some are forced to reconsider pricing strategies, while others are exploring innovative ways to cut costs without compromising the quality of their product or service.
Insomba zavuta magulisidwe because izisolve in 3 days insomba ero kuoda za dula 60 kwacha package manje kuti ugwera ugulise pese 60 kwacha jamene waodela awe nchito sacha mamene omu batoke life iliko hard yeze yakosa mwandi bati yanganeko na ise mwandi bati yakosa mamekenzeli kudala na maja kwa different kudala ngati nankala chabe mpili sasoneka pege nazokwanisa kwa mpili ate apa apere apa 200 ero 200 reve choka kusenta kwa mazuri
Economists suggest that a comprehensive approach is needed to address these issues, including targeted policies to stabilize the currency and support for local businesses through financial incentives or relief measures.
Sustainable because we do not have the real fundamentals that can drive the appreciation of the kwacha. Until we start earning enough dollars from the mines, when production go up, after the problems at Mopani and the KCM are finally resolved, they start mining, the tonnage goes up, we start getting a fair share of revenue through our mineral tax. That's when we expect the kwacha to appreciate sustainably. This appreciation, if it's because of selling dollars by central bank and some positive sentiments, investment sentiment news, is not sustainable.
As the nation grapples with these economic challenges, it remains to be seen how authorities will respond to the burden on local businesses and promote economic resilience. Prudence Chibwe, Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
All right, some of the stories that we are zooming in this morning are pertaining to the issues of cost of living, probably exacerbated by the high prices of essential fuel. What word can I use?
Commodities?
No, not commodities. I don't want commodities. Okay, no, but I want to use that one, but I don't want it. I wanted another word. Okay, so these are basically fueled by essential goods like fuel as well as the exchange rate. Yeah.
Well, in as much as we talk about that, we also have the big elephant in the room where I think you and I, even our viewers out there, are also asking questions in terms of what will be of us pertaining the current dry spell.
Yeah.
Does it mean that come this harvest season, the country's staple food might increase from what it is currently or reduce? Because we do know for a fact that there are a lot of farmers that have cried over what they termed as damage to their crops. And worst of all, you find that most of these farmers, their produce is not even insured.
Yeah, that's a problem, and we must also mention that the most affected are small-scale farmers who are not into irrigation farming, and these are the people who produce for the local market. My understanding, or what we know mostly, is that these commercial farmers do not grow their crops for the local market.
Well, there you have it. In case you would like to give us a comment in terms of what your view is on what measures should be put in place to cushion the effects of climate change. We're supposed to have our guest, but unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, he'll be able to join us tomorrow as we get to also push further this discussion. But would like to get from you, from a people's perspective, from a farmer's perspective, what do we need to do in terms of having measures to ensure that effects of climate change on the agriculture sector is actually looked at? And talking about issues relating to climate change, let's get to look at a story from the Agricultural Climate Action Foundation, which says there's urgent need to implement practical solutions to address the challenges posed by climate change by educating farmers on water resource management. Executive Director Oliver Bulaya notes that the current severe climate trends are posing threats to the country's agricultural sector, livestock, underground water, and overall socio-economic development. We also get to look at a story where some farmers in Kalomo district in Chiefs Yajirema are also calling for government to come to their aid when it comes to the issue of the dry spell, and also a story from the Sub-Saharan African Farmers Organization that are calling for means to also make sure that the country's farming or agricultural sector gets to improve further, and looking at all issues relating to the importation of GMO. Milimi, who are actually saying we've got capacity as a country to produce more, and once we do that, we've got just certain farmers that have been aligned to ensure that they export the commodity to countries like DRC that have proved to have got a very vital market that the country can utilize.
This year in particular, we are witnessing a critical situation with implication for food security, energy generation, and tourism. The adverse effects of climate change are amplifying the vulnerability of our farmers, both small and large scale. The scarcity of water, exacerbated by the low levels of the Kariba Dam, not only jeopardizes irrigation for farming, but also impacts on electricity generation, which in turn affects various sectors, including business and manufacturing due to load shedding. We recognize the urgency of this situation and call upon the government through the Ministry of Agriculture and the private sector to come together and drive the agenda for climate smart agriculture action. Practical solutions need to be implemented to address the challenges both posed by climate change. One crucial aspect is educating our farmers on water resource management and encouraging adoption of technologies that incorporate water harvesting techniques to manage extreme rainfall in specific regions. To support farmers in adapting to these changes, the government must provide incentives for the installation of commercial boreholes and drip irrigation facilities. This will require the implementation of deliberate policies aimed at reducing certain taxes, enabling larger farmers to benefit from improved irrigation practices. The urgency of the climate crisis has been evident since 1996 when the Conservation Farming Unity initiated initiatives in climate smart agriculture.
In a heartfelt plea, community leaders and residents in Chief Seachitema Chiefdom in Kalomo District, Southern Province, are appealing to the government to swiftly respond to their needs. The prolonged dry spell has taken a toll on crops and livestock, leaving the community in dire need of relief. They are calling on the government to deploy resources and coordinate efforts to alleviate the suffering of the affected residents. Acta Maunga Foundation, through its founder, Acta Maunga, says the situation is critical. Mr. Maunga, who is also a farmer, says the residents need immediate assistance, adding that the government support is crucial to overcome the challenges posed by the prolonged dry spell.
As farmers, we are really affected by the dry spell, and as I was moving around the constituents, this is a disaster, both in Seachitema, in Spatunyana, in Dundumwenze. You know, these are the greatest maize belts in Zambia. The biggest number of maize comes from this area. So from what is happening, there's a disaster here. It's really a national disaster, especially here in the southern part of Zambia, and this area in particular. One of the things that are going to affect us much is the crop has died. I know some have even failed to apply top dressing.
Meanwhile, Mr. Maunga has also called on the government to address the water crisis that residents are faced with.
They don't have water sources like boreholes. We don't have even hand pumps. They are very few. So the cry that we are looking for from our government is to look at Southern Province, Kalomo in particular, to provide at least some machines to go at least each village to drill a borehole. The same program our president is doing in Lusaka for drilling 100 boreholes for the wards in Lusaka. We are begging, we are appealing to our head of state to extend that gesture as soon as possible to Southern Province, Kalomo in particular. This is a large area, this is a highly populated area, this is the first capital city of Zambia. So the disaster at hand is too much.
As the residents of Chief Siajidema Chiefdom in Kalomo district await a response from the government, the situation remains dire. The hope is that swift action will be taken to alleviate their suffering and ensure that essential relief reaches those in need during this challenging time. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News. The country has continued to experience prolonged dry spells that have had a negative impact on the country's agricultural sector, which has left some farmers to tend to watering their fields. As this unfolds, farmers remain hopeful for miracles to happen as they look forward to the heavens opening. While this is the case, the price of mealie meal in the country has continued to fade between 250 kwacha and 350 kwacha. However, recently, allegations emerged that government is importing GMO mealie meal from South Africa through ZCSD milling company, but Minister of Agriculture Ruben Mutolo indicated that the importation is destined for the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC.
For not importing any GMO mealie meal for local consumption. Government has, however, allowed ZNS and the private sector to import and transit mealie meal for the DRC market. This was done in order to A, protect the Zambian-produced non-GMO grain from being smuggled into neighboring countries and therefore ensure national food security.
However, the Sub-Saharan African Farmers Organization has called on the government to draw lessons from the current importation of the commodity.
Our own Zambian product, because now you see, we are a secondary, but we are doing trading now. This one produces, we buy, we sell to another guy, we are making a small profit margin when we can actually be the primary producer and seller of the commodity. So for now, this is something that I see, it's a gap for those who are thinking about export trade in that sector for earning foreign direct investment in the country, because export trade has got no debt recourse. Mr.
Mulonda hopes that the current dry spell being experienced is an eye-opener on the importance of boosting the country's agricultural sector.
But let us start having now farmers who grow to feed into this eagle milling program they've started with the companies that have been mentioned from Congo on behalf of the Congolese government, so that we continue supplying. This is sustainable and you can even invest in it, because forever people want to eat this commodity as a staple diet.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka. Thank you so much for still staying tuned to Camnet TV Breakfast Show on a Monday, and we get also to have feedback from you in terms of what is the extent of the dry spell that is being experienced in the country. How are you faring as a farmer? Wherever you're watching us from, you can give us that contribution. You can give us as well as that comment on Facebook. We'll be glad to hear from you, for we know for a fact that we've played a couple of stories, one from Siajidema Chiefdom in Southern Province, and the other one was here in Lusaka, where the Sub-Saharan Farmers Organization are actually calling for government to come up with mechanisms that are just going to look at issues addressing climate issues, so that the country's agricultural sector is not affected, and also having an initiative that is just going to focus on having farmers that grow crops for export only.
Yeah, and as those stories were playing, what was playing in my mind was how it used to be when we were young. This month of February, going towards the end of this month, these are the days where I could see rains for maybe a week or so, 3 days, 1 week without stopping. Yeah, and I was just thinking, what has gone wrong?
What has gone wrong indeed?
Yeah.
It means probably you and I have not actually been taking care of our environment. Also need to look at maybe a few things that need to be changed when it comes to human activities.
Yeah, maybe so. And on Saturday, I was talking to someone in the village, and they were telling me this sad story where the entire village, only one person has got what to eat. And now what happens is, when it's lunch or when it's meal time, lunch or supper, you find that he receives visitors maybe from across the village, so just they can have a meal.
Well, hopefully we will get response in terms of from the relevant authorities in terms of what measures are really being put in place to ensure that a looming hunger situation is actually averted.
And I think authorities are downplaying this in the sense that in the back days, what used to happen when you get such reports, you see the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, going around the country just surveying how much impact this has caused on the farming, in the farming industry. But we are not seeing that now.
I wouldn't necessarily claim that they're downplaying it, because I've received information that the Ministry of Agriculture, in partnership with DMMU and other government wings, actually conducting these surveys.
We need to see that.
To actually understand what is happening on the ground. Because first of all, you and I, what need to know is the fact that this survey is being conducted first with the farmers that have been affected, right?
Yes.
Yes, it starts from there. Keeping in mind that we've got farmers that accessed loans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now they're thinking of how
are they going to repay?
So now it could be another measure that government is thinking of in terms of ensuring that okay, these farmers got loans from us and they didn't insure their crops. So basically,
how are we going to find a win-win solution?
Exactly. How are we finding a win-win solution? And then, in as much as they conduct that impact with the farmers, it will now come to a realization of understanding in terms of the looming hunger situation, what needs to be done, what should be the way forward. I think
you know where my argument is coming from. By this time, we are supposed to be in the light. We are supposed to know what exactly is going on. Okay, what we are seeing are merely images captured by individuals.
But someone might argue also to say development is a process. It doesn't mean that if you make development as a snail pace, you should always come to the media and tell them to say this is what is currently on the ground, when it's not even substantial or progressive.
No, but you know, this is to do with food, okay, and staple food for that matter. So what used to happen in the past, not too long ago, you and I know that by this time would have seen aerial shots by the DMMU or maybe journalists that move around with the DMMU team, as well as the agriculture officers from the Ministry of Agriculture. By now, this is February, and we are into almost a month of dry spells. Would have seen aerial shots. We are not seeing that. They are just giving statements.
Are those your concluding remarks?
I would conclude so, yeah. Because by now, no, my argument is, by this time would have at least something to show off. Okay, we are doing this, and this is what's on the ground. Not statements at this time. No.
Listen, one thing that we also need to keep in mind is that in as much as there's this situation, delicate as it is, remember, we are still also dealing with the other issue that came much earlier, which is the issue of cholera, right?
Yes.
And then, in as much as also efforts are coming in, I was arguing with you to say I feel there's a survey that's being conducted. As far as information that I've received from the Ministry of Agriculture, DMMU, there's a survey that has been conducted that has started with the farmers that have been affected. Don't you feel that is progress enough? And then maybe government might be saying, what we were still implementing this plan, and wouldn't want to come to the public now to say this is what we're doing.
No, but this needs urgent attention.
Delicate,
it's not about
delicate as it is, it also needs to be addressed systematically.
Yeah, I understand that one, but at least we have to be in the know.
Anyway, we'll definitely be in the know, I think, very soon.
Because you and I, we receive first-hand information. Are you aware how many provinces or districts have been affected so far?
So far, I can roughly say about 7 districts, 7 provinces have been affected out of the 10. So meaning that there's so much work that needs to be done, and for you to have a clear picture, a clear image of what needs to be done, what relief people need in Eastern Province, for instance, what relief people need somewhere in Central Province, Mumbwa, Chibombo, you need to do surveys.
Yes.
Because people, just like the
exactly my point,
just like the people have said, numbers don't lie.
They do not lie, not at all.
That's why I was indicating that information being received indicate that those surveys have begun and they're being conducted in a phased manner with who? The affected farmers. Because these farmers are
that's what I'm not comfortable with.
Look, they're starting with the farmers, right?
Yes.
They're starting with the farmers. From there, they'll have a true picture in terms of who is affected. Because it is the same farmers that are distributing food or distributing maize or any other farming produce to FRA as well as government.
Yes.
So meaning that if they do an assessment with the farmers, they definitely
I'll tell you this. Sorry to point at but I want to tell you this. This is the information coming from the district office. It's not a survey. The information that the ministry is giving right now, I can bet you, is coming from officers in those areas, but not a survey.
Well,
so those are just rough figures. What we need right now, the Minister of Agriculture as well as the DMMU carry a survey, aerial survey, conduct an aerial survey just to ascertain how much this has cost.
But look, if you conduct an aerial survey, it's just going to be in the air. You're not having like the actual numbers of the people that are affected. If you hit the ground, that's when you're going to have numbers.
Now you are talking. So when we conduct an aerial survey, there's information coming from officers across the country. Then we have it.
Well, before this argument takes a toll, because Vincent, to some extent, is sounding like a politician.
No, but I'm not being political. You know what? I've experienced.
I'm not saying you're being political.
Yeah, let me just.
But you're sounding like a politician. You want to argue?
No, I'm not a politician, not at all. But let me say this. I've experienced hunger before, and what usually happens when they say no, we are giving relief food, they will give you a 5 kg per adult at a household. So I don't know by then what adult was in terms of age range. I didn't know, I was too young by then. But that's what they do, a 5 kg of mealie meal per adult at every household. And once they give you that, for them to come back, it will take ages. What you do to survive, God knows. That's where the issue is. So what we need is quickly carry out a survey, put in place measures that will help these farmers before it's too late, at least salvage something, or maybe start afresh.
Well, I would like to call it a day before Vincent gets to be put in a fix. I think it's very important that we also acknowledge some of those people that have been following the proceedings on Facebook, the likes of Kelvin Kamunda, all the way from Gioma District of Southern Province. We do appreciate your time, and even anyone else that has been glued to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show on a Monday, wherever you've been watching us, either Topstar, DSTV, YouTube, as well as Go TV. We do appreciate your time. It has been announced on Zulu and Vincent Piri. Please keep it on Camnet TV. Remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel, and we'll be back tomorrow as we get to continue this discussion.